So accounting software will tell you what your numbers have been and what they are right now. Clockwork will tell you what your numbers are going to be and what they mean for your business. Clockwork's an AI-powered software that helps small businesses with their cash flow forecasting and financial projections. So we plug into accounting softwares like QuickBooks Online and Xero, and we build out 65-week cash flow forecasts and 5-year financial projections and allow the users to play all their what-if scenarios to see what decisions are impacting and how they impact the bottom line.
Small business has been a calling since childhood.
I grew up in a small business in St. Louis, actually, Garavelli's restaurant, managing all of our employees, all the customers, all the vendors, everything in between, and it wasn't easy for the entire family. And so that was always carried with me going forward. And after my career at Boeing and Edward Jones, I really wanted to get back into the small business world. And so I opened my own outsourced CFO consulting firm, where I found out that it was really a systemic issue with how limited small businesses were with anything financial for their business. And when I was consulting for each client, I asked them, if I built a software that integrated with your accounting system, that let you build what-if scenarios, that built out your financial projections, that built out your cash flow forecast, and all the ins and outs, is that something you would buy? And every single one of them was literally, yes, go build it already. I knew that for the consulting firm, I could only affect maybe hundreds of companies. With a software, I can affect millions.
Their ideal customers, says Hawatmeh, are small businesses with about 10 to 100 employees, because those companies need the tailored forecasting, advice, and management that Clockwork gives them, but can't afford the six-figure financial services. Clockwork, he says,
puts everyone on a level playing field. When you look at a company that's on Clockwork, it doesn't matter if they're a medical services company or they're a consulting firm or they're a SaaS company. It's all one level playing field, and numbers are numbers.
He's seen a good deal of success. Success that, until recently, he thought he had to be in bigger cities to pursue.
I'm Jordanian, and as any true Jordanian mother will do, is they're very attached to their children. So I left St. Louis back in 2012. Every month, probably every week, my mom would always ask me, when are you coming back to St. Louis? And I always told her no. I didn't think that St. Louis was a place where I can grow the business that I knew I was eventually going to grow.
He filled out the Arch Grants application on a whim.
Mom immediately went 0 to 100 and was like, oh my God, you're moving back to St. Louis. I was like, no, I'm not. I'm just filling this thing out. And then I've met Jim Eberlein, who's a kind of a staple in the St. Louis startup world. And he came up to me after the final pitch, and he goes, you need to be in St. Louis, and Clockwork needs to be in St. Louis. And so for me, that was pretty cool, because I went, obviously did my homework, and then I started really putting the pieces of the St. Louis ecosystem together. And it was very impressive. And then a few months later, I got the call. I was like, I guess I'm moving to St. Louis.
Now that he's back, he says he's not leaving again anytime soon.
My dad's restaurant, Garavelli's, was a staple in St. Louis for 23 years. We owned it. We sold it in its 99th year of operation. And I genuinely want to make Clockwork that staple for the next 500 years.